I tried to redeem another channel message, but it cost 700 points. Who's got that kind of points? Blast. Only real fans, I guess, like Slink. Hi guys, we are here for Blast Making the Cast, episode 4, the season finale. Sadly.
Yeah.
Shout out to the tens of fans in the stands, the hundreds of millions watching at home.
Woo!
We are going to be doing episode 4 today, episode 4 Tricasts, where we talk about Blast Copenhagen 2018, the infamous reunion of Moses, Anders, and Semmler. All together when Semmler took a small break from Overwatch, which has now become a big break, and dipped his toes into Counter-Strike casting once again. It was a treat for all and very nostalgic and very cool to see Anders and Semmler casting again in that moment. Obviously, some very famous pictures of them all reacting together and stuff like that. So today we're just going to go over that because we've done ourselves.
Yep.
We've done our comrades. We've done the reunion of Anders and Semmler on their own. And now we got Anders, Semmler, Moses all together.
The whole package. It's almost
Maybe
like this was planned.
Yeah, exactly. And it wasn't. I want to promise you it was not planned.
Step by step,
Was
we
it?
made it here.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. We inched forward.
I think that one of my favorite moments with this Tricast, not even the casting regardless, was just when Semmler made the comeback. Because remember, this wasn't even announced anywhere, right? That he was coming into this finals. He just showed up in the crowd and walked down onto the stage like some kind of WWE comeback story.
Yeah.
And it was a glorious moment, man. I'm so happy he never returned back to Overwatch since, and he's stuck to where he belongs.
Yeah, he's back with us. For better or worse, he's here. And yeah, I think it's definitely been for better. And he's done some analysis stuff. So we haven't actually had as much Semmler casting, which is interesting because he's definitely, that's his wheelhouse. His primary wheelhouse is casting. So why don't we get into it? We've got a match from Blast Copenhagen. We got a bunch of clips, and I think the fun of this show is going to be to see if we pick the same clips because we have tried to pick out 3 timestamps each in this VOD and are going to talk about moments in this cast and break down the moments, but we didn't tell each other which moments that we brought in. So,
and we've only got 2 maps to work with.
Yeah.
That Swift 2-0 from Navi.
Yeah. Well, spoiler, I grabbed like 4 or 5 moments from the first map. I'm just going to use 3. But then you have a couple of clips from Inferno.
Yeah. I took it to the finish line. That's what I was looking for. Took it to the finish line to see what these 3 great commentators had in the tank. And well, we'll find out.
Okay, cool. Well, my first clip that I brought in, if you don't mind me going first.
Absolutely not.
Okay. Okay. So this one is near the beginning of the game. This is just a good set the stage kind of thing for a Tricast. So actually, we'll talk about Tricast for a second. So a Tricast can go off without a hitch. It's actually maybe not as tricky. Maybe it seemed more tricky to us before we tried them, but sometimes the hard part is if you cast with someone all the time, then it's really easy to understand your chem when you go into a match. One person talks, other person talks, one person talks, other person talks. Tricast, if somebody's maybe not taking as much initiative, are you doing a good job to include them? Is there better ways to set them up? Are you talking about stuff that's unrelatable to that third person that you normally talk about with the other 2 people? Just some kinds of like psychological factors that go into it. And that can make it hard. But if you've got 3 friends or, 3 people who are pretty good, like Anders Moses cast together, and Anders Semmler cast together. Moses never really cast with Semmler. So that might be a bit tricky. But then you see that because they hang out in green rooms, because they talk, they got some of the same banter, they're able to just kind of gel and flow. And I thought that this first round was a good example just overall of them doing great handoffs. So one to the other to the next. And a nice line here from Semmler where he says, the bait has bite. Okay, let's listen.
They're light on nades going into this round. They don't have everything they would like to be working with here.
This aggression from Flamey. This is going to be the first test for NIP, and I don't think they're going to pop flash. I think they're more than willing to play the bait and switch at the moment. It's Get Right and Dennis here, but they're not even trying to aggress. or just an option to fall back later on in the round. NIP is really hesitant. They're expecting some kind of an aggression.
They're expecting Na'Vi to try and take the fight to him, it seems, playing off of that aggressive behavior from some of their players. But right now, Na'Vi, you're right, bit of discipline on their side of things, waiting for Nip to make the first move. Molly getting thrown in, get right with the flash, could be going for the peek here. Flamey turning away. Electronic, he doesn't even need to be the bait. Turns out that bait's got some bite, and Get Right will be able to trade it, but Electronic is still there.
It's a pretty good trade, good return. Get Right still kind of low on health, which is a bit of a problem for us. Deep inside the ladder room, and he does get the first fight. He's still going to get shut down. That's a good fight for Edward to be winning, and controls the middle of the map now. And NIP under a minute, and they're starting to gravitate towards the B bomb side. But I mean, they can get here pretty quick now. I mean, with the man lead, should be able to retake it even.
We saw this from NIP earlier in the tournament. They really were determined to get Forrest in that position. He was way more effective. They're going to need him to get those kills. Rez is going to step in front of that smoke. He's going to challenge.
Edward in position already at bench, finds the first headshot. Rez is gone, and that's going to stumble Nip. They do have Lekro out on the point, though, so he is looking for that angle. He's got Edward, but Edward doesn't need to do anything. He can just sit and wait, try and bait Lekro out into the open. Unfortunately, nobody from Na'Vi there to capitalize, but they still have the man advantage going into the retake.
Smart play from Lekro. He had to do something. Get Right was on 1 health. The grenade is going to take him down, and now it's Lekro in a 1 versus 3, and he doesn't even have any cover. He's just standing in the middle of the bomb site. They're all around him. He's locked in. No way out except death, and Electronic will take him down. That's Na'Vi winning the first rifle round that NIP had there. That always feels great when you do that.
A couple of kills as well for NIP. Not
And
enough,
then,
though. I don't
like-
think that's going to do any kind of economic damage.
Oh, I paused. And like clockwork, they hand off. It was Moses talks during the analysis period into Semmler taking the initial cast. A very nice transition where he takes Moses's words from the end of his sentence and then turns that into a turn of phrase and carries that into play-by-play, which is beautiful because it shows that you're listening to your co-commentator. It shows that you're like, you're cutting on the fly, and then he takes that. It goes off to Anders for the final hype moment. And in that lull period in the middle, Moses comes in again, but he doesn't step on any of the play-by-play because there's already 2 very apt play-by-play casters there. So I thought, that's a great example of just how to pass that baton over and over again. They did it seamlessly. It was like, and this is stuff that they didn't have time to really talk about. They probably didn't at all. And so I think there were just maybe a quick note before they started the game. Hey, I guess Moses is probably the person to be like, I'll just do some of the analysis this round, allow you guys to do the play-by-play. And then you do see some of these later clips as well that allows the banter to shine a little bit more between Anders and Semmler. But it's kind of impressive that early into the game, the perfect handoffs and everyone just knowing their place perfectly.
Haven't cast together in how long, and then they hit the ground running. Yeah, I'm glad you brought this clip because I almost took this one. I almost brought it in because you are absolutely right. It's a really good kind of, I would say, preface to the rest of the episode in the sense that within these 3 commentators, it is normally Moses who takes that back seat. Like Moses seems to be the guy who gives up more of his ground to enable both Semmler and Anders to have those kinds of, like, I'd say 50-50 split play-by-plays. Anders is constantly getting the later moments. Like he's closing rounds with play-by-play, but it's those mid rounds that Semmler seems to get his hands onto. And I like that because Semmler, as you said, with what he did to Moses's last piece, the this bait has bite. He kind of has, more of that alliteration flair. And I think that personally, I feel like a mid-round segment of play-by-play has more room for that. It's not as though you're in those 1vx situations where injecting a little style with your commentary can kind of take away from a moment or can cause you to have a hiccup. It's like Semmler is just, he's just waving his ribbon baton and just flowing through the middle of these rounds until Anders hammers them home,
$150 square.
Yeah, exactly. He's twirling and pirouetting with his cast, and it's really good. Like that's what he does best, is at those stylistic moments. So yeah, this is a good example of that one. And again, just Moses, like not only doing post round analysis in between rounds constantly, because that's where he comes up more often, but with like nice interjections. What he said very quickly about Forrest in the apartments, like he has those very concise tidbits of analysis, but he does not get in the way of either Semmler or Anders play-by-play. So he just kind of gets his 2 cents in and then slides back out the door. And that's very Moses-esque. I like it.
Yeah,
So
cool.
yeah, this clip sets up sets up the episode really nicely.
Okay.
But
So what have you what's the but?
the but is I have one clip from map 1, so I think it's a good chance for me to slip this one in.
Okay.
Let me find her. We go a little bit later into the game. Things start flowing a little bit. This is actually a pretty lopsided start from Navi. So it was tough to get things excited. Remember, we're also in Copenhagen, where the local crowd thinned slightly for this finals. How dare they? No Astralis can sting sometimes, but they were still loud enough. So I won't harp on them too hard. But what we get to here is round 19. Flamey actually picks up a 1 versus 2 in this round at the end of it. I think it's a really good showcase of, again, the handoffs between these 3 casters. And it's a good example of each and every one of them getting their 2 cents in as the play unwinds. So, it gets pretty hyped towards the end, but we're going to play out the whole round in its entirety because Tricasts are a little more long-winded.
But yeah, Edward, he was probably not even going to make it through that round, was he? But Dennis is having a much better second half here on the CT side. Forrest to help out, instant refrag. Still a 2-on-2, which is a little bit scary here. Zeus is going to be dropped in. Oh, wow, Flamey with the deagle. That's not a bad kill. Now a 1-on-1 versus Forrest. He's got the bomb, he's got the time. Doesn't really have the health, but let's see what he can do.
Oh yeah, this is a long one-on-one.
Which I'm glad you interjected that, because that's the perfect... I would say this is the perfect 1 versus 1 exactly for a Tricast, because again, normally 1v1s are pretty quick, but this is a long one, and we get input from everybody. Anders could have been closing the round on the bomb site before Flamey picks up the first kill, again, where he's always speaking those closing portions. Moses comes back in, he's going to set up this play a bit. Semmler finds his hands back on it, and then Anders is going to close. So it's like a nice drawn V out 1v1. Gives us all 3 flavors.
To play with, Flamey can get very fortunate. You kind of got to cross your fingers, hope Forrest is looking
Napoleon
the wrong
ice
way.
cream. Neapolitan ice cream?
And it is going to be really interesting to see how they play this out. Forrest is ready for this kind of exact play, playing in connector, peering over towards that A bomb site. If he takes the right angle, he'll even be able to look in towards Palace.
Does he trust his judgment, though, right? The instinct of over a decade of competing at the very top of pro gaming. Forrest, this is what he thrives for.
Make it epic. Make it epic.
Everything, man. This is his element. So, got the angle. Flamey, 15 HP. He's got no nades to work with, and he's got Kevlar, so that's not really going to help versus the M4. But now it's just about Forrest not trusting it, and Forrest is fully in. Doesn't even matter if the bomb plant goes down now. Forrest, as soon as he realizes it's on A, he knows that Flamey's to the left.
Yeah, he's got that covered for sure. Gonna turn back around, just making a little bit of noise, and he should be winning it. Flamey going for the repeat, actually dropping Forrest very low. Oh, he actually tagged him, but he's still alive. How could that even be real? No grenades left, none to do damage, and Flamey wins it. Oh, wow, what an incredible 1 versus 2 for Flamey.
So go on.
First of all, Semmler saying HP like he's from the UK.
HP?
He said H. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
HP.
I think this is one of those clips where it's like, okay, let's remember, Semmler hadn't been in Counter-Strike for a little while, so I think he actually catches himself here a little bit with a minute mistake. But so he gets himself back in the 1v1. It's still drawn out. I want to praise the way that Semmler takes it from Moses with like a very relaxed, like, yeah, but Forrest is in his element here. Like, he was so cool when Flamey was still walking through Palace, because again, we have a 1 versus 1 that's incredibly drawn out. So you want it to be exciting when it hits its peak, but it took a while to get there. It was quite the trek. And so he's very casual when Flamey is still inside of Palace. By the time Flamey gets onto the exit, and he's saying something along the lines of like, Forrest, he knows exactly that he's on the left side of this bomb site. Once he figures it out, it's on A. Like, that was prime pass off type moment. But he's talking about, like, armor at 15 HP, not something that's really important. And he even says,
that's right. Yeah,
not really that important. It's like, he's getting back into the rhythm of Counter-Strike where it's,
you've got a point, August. It should be important, but yeah, that's true. That's true. That's it couldn't actually matter.
Yeah, exactly. But then Anders, at the end, closing it strong. Like, his when Flamey gets tapped through the box and goes from like 8 health to 3 health, the speed up by Anders is always perfect. So
Oh, it can't be real. Is that how is it possibly real?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And with rounds that are that drawn out, that's when it's really nice to have 3 casters too, because you know that somebody's gonna pick it up. You don't get that like Kitty Genovese effect because everybody knows they're there to do that specific job, and everybody has more than enough break. Definitely sometimes when it's just 2 people casting, there is some pressure for somebody to say something when there's not much to say just because someone needs to talk. Either somebody talking for longer because a tech pause pops up or attack pause comes in when you're about to finish your point, or someone starting off the round and you are like a super slow default having to talk longer before passing it off the first time. So with 3 people, that's when it's kind of nice. Super nice. Very nice. Cool. Yeah, that was I remember I watched that. Yeah, I watched that back yesterday. And we probably have seen all of our clips already, but it'll be interesting. I've got a bonus clip to throw in.
Bonus round.
Bonus round. Okay, super bonus clip here. A little bit of Semmler personality, which I mean, never lacking personality, of course. But this is just the first time. Okay, I think that when I casted at this same LAN last Copenhagen 2018, I think this was the first time that I felt the fire go up behind my head.
Yeah.
And I had a bald fade. So that means I just had a skin fade on the back of my head. And at the LAN, we're at the tip of the stage, which is this prism or like a triangle. It's like a cake. And basically the fire, when the bomb goes off in game, there's pyrotechnics behind you in real life. And sometimes you can forget when you're watching on the stream, these are real flames.
Real jets of fire.
Yeah, real fire. So the first time the bomb exploded, it went up behind me and it actually burned the back of my head. And I was like, oh my God, when I was casting, and I had no idea it was coming. It's actually really scary. So this just happened to Semmler too. Welcome back to CS.
The next round when you can be comfortable about it. That's a good round from NIP, and that's not even any kind of like crazy aggression or picking up of the pace. That is a contact play, but now they're losing too many. Those 2 kills, those are huge for Na'Vi.
Those make a big difference. I was about to praise Nip for the fact that, you know, even with the ecos, whoa, that's toasty. All right, we do have the flames here. Welcome back. Yeah, welcome back. Definitely felt that on the back of my neck. Okay. But all right, point was that.
Dude, that's a real
awesome moment.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, that's funny. It's funny how sometimes a moment like that can change the entire cast. You get a moment that like it's a bit too serious. There's not much to drag that to pull from that's funny, but everybody is prepared for that moment. It just hasn't come in any form. And then something like that happens that's spontaneous. And it can really change the mood of everything. If somebody finds something funny to say about it, oh, that's toasty. Or whatever. If somebody else can banter off of it, it can change the whole cast. It's really crazy how that works. Like if you get a crazy moment in a game, like a ridiculous whiff, or Nifty going in, jumping out of heaven into a flashbang to get no scoped or whatever. Like a moment like that could just change the whole mood of the cast, no matter how prepared or unprepared you were to feel good or to be funny in that game.
Yeah, curveball moment, right? It's and then everybody gets on the same page because it kind of catches all 3 people by surprise simultaneously.
Yeah.
It's a little kick. It's a kick in the ass, and that's fun. But that's a good moment because I remember us. We've had this conversation of like, remember the first time the fire lit us up? Because I think the first time the bomb exploded for us wasn't until it was like 10 rounds into the game. You know, everybody had winning by like kill or defuse, etc.
It's not supposed to be anything new at this point.
Right,
yeah.
right, yeah. Like we're grooving. We're finally like our hands aren't shaking from the 10,000 people in live attendance, and then fire's shooting up behind your head. So I'm glad they got cut off too, man. It makes me even the professionals were surprised. That's a nice wholesome moment. Okay. If that was the bonus round, then I've also got a curveball question.
Okay.
All right. Curveball question, man. If we were about to do a grand finals and the tournament organizer walked up to us and said, hey, this isn't happening until it's a Tricast. You have to choose your partner. Do you have anybody that you would ever consider to Tricast? between the two of us plus one.
Oh,
Who'd be your
plus
choice?
one.
Yep.
Who to add with it? Probably Hugo, for sure.
Hugo? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's a good
Yeah.
answer. Okay,
Yeah.
I appreciate the Hugo answer.
Yeah. Well, what's your answer?
Sean Gares.
Sean Gares.
Sean Gares. I think that I love listening to you and Sean Gares on desks. I think that you guys have a really good back and forth, like conversationally and analytically. So I always thought to myself that like if we had a spectrum, right? I'm on one side, Sean Gares on the other. You're kind of smack dab in the middle in the sense that like me and you could bounce play by play as good as you and him could bounce analysis.
Yeah.
So to think of like a conversation about Counter-Strike mid-game between the two of you with my pizzazz sprinkled on top, man, I think that'd be a really sick product. So yeah, I love
a
Hugo
very
to
thoughtful answer. I just immediately thought the answer was Hugo because
Hugo.
you know he's our boy. Like
He
he's our
is.
boy. He's like
He
your
is.
best
We
friend.
did a Tricast with
We
Hugo.
did a Tricast. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good answer. I like that. Yeah, Sean.
Sick.
Shout out to Sean Daddy Gares.
So that's the curveball question, and that's your bonus clip done. What do you got next for us, Mohan?
Okay, let's check out what we have next. We've got this clip. I think this is a good Anders cast, and what this is the very specific and obscure banter that Semmler and Anders have that I love, and I'm so glad it came out here. And I think you know exactly what kind of banter I'm talking about, where they'll make some cultural reference. It might be a boomer reference, or it might be something that you just have to be of a higher plane of existence to be able to relate to. But they can reference stuff either historical or just obscure or cultural, and I think it's really funny. And the best part is they know they can count on each other to like get it. So
get in, get out.
Get in, get out. Yeah. Okay.
No man left behind.
Right.
But you're not a sledgehammer like Simple just going through that wall of defense and just, you know, opening everything up for your team. That's a bit of a different flavor that, well, NIP don't have right now. But excited to see Na'Vi on a classic map.
Cast here by Anders on Res. Specifically.
Going to be coming up. Oh, wow. Line up right for the smoke. Dennis couldn't see a thing, and he's still going to get the kill on Simple. And what a play to take down now. Res fighting for his life inside the jungle, and he's going to be dropping. Oh, no. It up. Res with a beautiful double kill. And now Electronic and Flamey, 2 versus 4. They're just getting shot.
I also love this. This is like a rapper moment from Anders because he goes from kind of, if you could kind of draw this on a graph, you know, it'd be like he winds up really. He like winds up like that, and then Res like makes him peak, and then when the round's starting to cool off at like 4v1, 4v2, he starts to taper off, but he lets it float. It's like when you press jump in the air with Jet in the game Valorant, where you're kind of floating down. He doesn't like hit the ground because he doesn't know how long it's going to be. He'll like float here. Okay, so let me play this one more time. I watch him peak and then float down, not come down as fast as he came up.
Oh, line up right for the smoke. Dennis couldn't see a thing, and he's still going to get the kill on Simple. And what a play to take down now. Res fighting for his life inside the jungle, and he's going to be dropping. Oh, no. It up. Res with a beautiful double kill. And now Electronic and Flamey, 2 versus 4. They're just getting shot down. The bomb is planted, but this is long range with a Glock against 4 people. That is not going to cut it. Flamey doing his best, but
You see his word, that is not going to cut. It's literally like slow motion almost.
Yep.
Just to ensure that he can finish that thought and just wrap it all up in that one sentence.
With a massive pistol around here. And I can tell the crowd, they're starting to get behind NIP in this matchup. They can feel it.
Turns out Danes can cheer for Swedes.
Yeah. Buried the axe, you know.
Thousands of years of conflict. You know, it takes a little bit of time to get over that.
They just needed a little bit of motivation, and that's a huge round from Red.
Yeah, just that bury the axe moment. And like Semmler will just go off on whenever. Like he'll just say something like that like a lot of people wouldn't be able to riff off of, but Anders can. Anders is not as vocal about stuff because like people don't know, like Anders has a very unique sense of humor and like a lot of stuff. He's kind of quiet compared to how much is going on in his head all the time. And I think Semmler is a bit more vocal about that stuff. Like you kind of know, you know, how much he reads or how many things that he thinks about that are obscure. And I think that was the cool part about their duo, is that he could bring that out in Anders' personality because it was there dormant. And Semmler would just throw caution to win and try something like that, and then Anders would surprise everyone by being able to like understand like exactly what to say and to keep it going.
Agree entirely with that one. That's and I love that Moses is there too, at least in this trio to kind of like you know, put the bow on top. Like he so smoothly transitions it back into like, yeah, well, they need to rile behind him because he has just accomplished XYZ. Like
Yeah, and he got the laugh in.
Right. Yeah. He got the laugh in. He got the reference. That's a big one right away. You know, like
Mhm.
you mentioned it earlier, if you got two guys who have constantly been bouncing off each other, like you want to include the third in the conversation and the jokes. But yeah, gets the reference, reacts to it, and then shifts away from it. Like knows that it's not his place to kind of dwell on it, I would argue. And again, that's what makes like that's what makes a good trio of commentators is when you have one person who's willing to concede ground when it's necessary to just kind of keep the show on the road. So
Also, he's like from America. Like Semmler is not really from America, right? Like he's pretty European, and Anders is also
Right.
very European. So that's actually home turf for them on a joke like that.
yeah.
And Moses might not have even. I mean, I don't know if he got it or
Ha
not.
ha ha. yeah.
Yeah, he just kind of did the good thing, which was laugh about it.
Yeah.
I think he understood something. Denmark, Sweden, but yeah, it's definitely not. It's not like something that you grow up laughing about in America. So.
For sure.
Yeah, he just added as much as he needed to and then turned it into another round.
All right. Are you prepared to shift to the second map?
Oh, yeah. Let's do it. Do
Let's
you
do
want
it.
to just do the beat? I just wouldn't make any difference to jump back and forth. Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. So Nip nearly make the comeback happen, but then we
It's so
shift
good,
on to
it's
our
so good.
second
This
map
is what
of
it's all about right now.
Inferno. Clip number 1. Clip number 1 is a very good example of the strength of play-by-play between Anders and Semmler. It's a pretty confident handoff from Anders right in the heat of the moment, actually. Like you could argue it's actually one of those times where he didn't get the final moment of the round and he could draw out his sentence however he'd like. But instead, he very abruptly just kind of passes off high octane play-by-play, knowing that either Moses or Semmler are capable of picking that up. And it sounds really good late round. It can be hard to fit everybody in sometimes in the different pieces that they can handle in terms of commentary. Anybody of these three could be casting 1v1 clutches. But Anders, maybe he's had enough. He feels like he's taken this position too much, and he lets that one get handled by Semmler.
And they don't learn anything.
Too.
Like a risky handoff.
Yeah, it's pretty
I
risky.
like this idea of them being a bit aggressive early in the pistol, though Forrest is going to win the fight. Those upgraded P250s have really come into play a lot, though. It's going to be a great return from Flamey. He wants to take this fight against Rez. He's absolutely ready for it. He's also the only one on the bomb site. And the rest are coming as well. Backup is miles away. Flamey, that's a gorgeous shot, but it won't be enough. Lecro with the Glock long range.
See, he's been
still
talking
able to
this
take
whole
him down.
time.
And Simple waiting for the timing. He wants to run through just as the bomb is being planted. And that was too much. Lecro drops him. And it's all on electronic.
Feels like a bit of a repeat
Oh
here.
my God.
Nearly gets the follow-up.
That was very risky.
Very.
Right now, bit under
Round could have
pressure.
ended
Electronic
right
gonna hunt
there.
him down. Get right, gonna take that fight.
But
He's going to
then
duel it, but another
oh, wow,
headshot
it's
for
actually
Electronic.
become the 1-on-3
1v1
too?
now. Could be the 1v3.
Oh!
He's finding him out, and there it is. Electronic.
Wow.
1v3.
Is Anders
making
prescient?
it all happen for Navi. What a beast.
Can you explain to people how that could have gone wrong?
Yeah. So how does that go wrong?
Moment.
Very easily could have gone wrong with the fact that he just, after having spoken for the entirety of the round. I mean, if this is nothing special, right? Especially considering Electronics in a 1v3 situation. If this is not a special moment, then it just seems like Anders has stopped casting too soon because Electronic dies 2 seconds after he stops talking, and somebody has to pick that up by play-by-play to signify the round's over.
Like the right energy and everything.
Right. Had Electronic died, then there is a world where they save that by just not saying anything at all. You just kind of let the round finish, and then let's say Moses picks up with like, there you have it. Pistol's been picked up. The second half is now officially underway, etc.
Domo arigato. Yeah.
But it can't get picked up that way because Electronic gets the first kill And then it's very clear that he has a chance at isolating 2 separate 1v1s. So Anders hands off a very possible clutch while he's pretty high up. You know, you're talking about floating earlier in the trajectory of his cast. Well, he wasn't really floating in that moment. He was still pretty kind of on the ride.
He was
you know,
perky.
So it's right when he passes it, and you can hear it almost for a second. It's like that couple of seconds of silence where in the heat of the moment you don't think of it, but if you listen back with the intent of knowing what's happening here, you can imagine a world, if you are Semmler or Moses, where one of us has to speak, but you've got to look at each other to figure out, wait, who of the two of us is supposed to speak? And luckily Semmler doesn't hesitate too long. He jumps right in.
If he had waited at
a
all,
second longer.
Yeah, a second longer. I mean, it could have been it could if you waited any time, and then because you cannot know that that's going to turn into 1-on-3.
Yep.
So if he had waited any more time, then he's in a really, really tough spot. So it's just so important that he goes and jumps on the moment right away, because let's say like Electronic gets killed right there, then you just need as much time as possible to build as much as you can so that you can taper off the energy or you can bring it up. And so I think, it's just how fast he came in that was really important. Can you play that? Can you play that again? Because I actually just
Let's do it.
I'm actually kind of surprised that Anders
hand this off, right?
Yeah, hands that off at that moment.
Over towards Halls. This is just Na'Vi trying to find what's coming.
And they don't learn anything. Too.
Kind of like this idea of them being a bit aggressive early in the pistol, though Forrest is going to win the fight. Those upgraded P250s.
What a sick moment,
really
though,
come into play a lot.
Yeah,
it's going to
so
be a great
good.
return from Flamey. He wants to take this fight against Rez. He's
pistol rounds, man.
He's also the only one on the bomb site.
Yeah, USPs, and it was just actually such a beautiful last kill too.
Glock long range, still able to take him down. And Simple waiting for the timing. He wants to run through just as the bomb is being planted, and that was too much. Lecro drops him. And it's all on Electronic.
Feels like a bit of a repeat here. Nearly gets the follow-up.
Okay, now that I watch it again, I can see
right
take
now,
the risk is actually
here. Electronic gonna hunt him.
At first, at the first time I watched it, it seemed a bit too risky.
Yeah.
But like, you almost cost you nothing to just finish that, or to just assume it might be finished. But then I feel like maybe there was a part of him that was like, there could be a moment here. So
certainly, it's where like you can see the risk first and foremost, but then remember the reward that he actually sets up by allowing Semmler to come in on this. There is a risk, but there's an even better reward. And what's nice,
Semmler's in the chat. Yo,
oh my god,
yo, he wants to get on the call. Nathan, do we have the ability?
Tricasts. Our cams might get Discord, messed up, but so be it. Yeah. It's the investment.
I was gonna put my Discord in the chat. Let me. I'm gonna DM you, Semmler.
Yeah, there's this moment where I think that like because the first player is actually so deep inside of pit, where that extends the handoff for like that extra little second. That really it's not awkward because of it. And of course, because of the way that Semmler just jumps all in.
Yeah.
He wasn't dipping his toes with that handoff.
Play the 1v3 again.
Sure.
I love Electronic, dude.
He bring it back a little bit.
Electronic makes moments like these.
Yeah, he does. All right. So here we go. And again, just remember, look how, because the player's deep pit, you'll see how he gets an extra second.
And that was too much. Lecro drops him. It's all on Electronic.
Feels like a bit of a repeat here. Nearly gets the follow-up. That was so close. Get right now, bit under pressure here. Electronic gonna hunt him down. Get right gonna take that fight. He's willing to duel it, but another headshot for Electronic. 1v1 now. Could be the 1v3 clutch. He's spotted him out, and there it is. Electronic 1v3, making it all happen for Na'Vi.
And the perfectly wrapped package at the end too. Electronic 1v3, making it happen for Na'Vi. It's like such a good jingle. It feels nice.
A jingle, yeah, true. Okay, I got someone. Okay, Nathan, how do I do this without messing everything up? Okay. Okay, cool.
Whatever you do, don't mess it up.
Don't mess it up. Yo, what's going on?
Hey, man.
Yo, we
How's
got
it going, Scrawny? How's it going, Launders? How you guys doing?
good, man. we
Good,
got we
good.
got Semmler on the call to talk Semmler now about the Tricast. When did you pop in?
Right when you guys were about breaking down that clutch. Luckily
Okay,
for me,
just
I
now.
looked at my phone. Or I was I'm watching Astralis Fanatic, and then I get a notification. It's like, what? And then you guys were breaking the Tricast, and I thought I'd jump in and see what you guys were doing. It's cool. This is a really cool idea, guys.
Yeah, we did. So we actually have done a couple episodes where we talked about you as well. Like last week, we talked about you and Anders at Blast Spring Series, since that was your official, like, you guys coming back together. And then we did Anders and Moses the week before, and we did us on the first week. So yeah,
And
this is the
all
last
centered around
episode.
Blast matches. Well, I guess because these are matches that we don't have to ask ESL or anybody else for.
Yeah,
the right
like
to
they
stream
have,
it, you know.
like for this first month, it's like perfect because there's like just enough different combinations of casters. So the
Yeah.
most part, it's me and Scrawny, and then Anders and Moses for like most of the casting. But next season we'll probably have to include other pairs as well if possible. But yeah, this
Dude,
is like a perfect wrap up.
Cool. Like, this is really cool, actually, because I mean, yeah, you should. I mean, I don't know. First thing that I'm thinking of is like you should reach out to Anders or myself or Moses next time you're like going through it, and we can just like hop on and give you insight. And then, as
Dude,
in, like,
fucking Tricast, the making the cast.
this is what's going through my head at this moment, and that's why I say what I say. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
could be fun to do that because it'd be like going down because weren't you doing that with players too, Launders? Like,
we did.
talking about
Watching
some
their
players?
own demo reviews. Yeah.
Yeah, that's rad. Good idea.
Yeah, check this out. Okay, so click on this YouTube link, and then you can watch the clips that we're watching with us. Are you on your phone?
No, I'm on my PC now.
Okay.
Let me see. I gotta figure. You see, I'm like you. I gotta figure out Discord. Like, how does Discord even work?
Yeah, there should be a chat you can pop open from the bottom.
We value your privacy. Yes, I get it.
Sure.
Dope. All right, cool. I think I'm good to go.
Okay, so this is a map. This is the map 2. Okay, then you play the. Do you want to play the other one as well, Connor?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, yeah, just do the last one. Yeah.
The last map 2 clip. Sure. This one I think it's far more about this is actually we would need Moses particularly. But it's kind of like it's the close of the game. It is, I believe, one of the very final moments. But what's most important is that I think that it kind of highlights the hidden talent of Moses as a play-by-play, which is something that we talked about when we were looking at just Moses and Anders, how like he doesn't have to bring that out, but when he does, it's really good. And people can kind of sleep on his play-by-play. So this was the reason we love the Tricast. Okay, this round starts with just chemistry and laughter. It was the official welcome back, a funny little moment that then out of nowhere progresses into a very quick hit on the A site. Moses takes over the round and kind of showcases that, yeah, he could pop off with the play-by-play too. Here we have it.
Exactly. It's on, and I don't have to click anything, do I? Or do I have to click
No.
something?
No, it'll play for you.
We're gonna do it all for you.
Itself.
Yep.
That's
Squeak and AK out of Dennis. They do actually have a bit of money here for
Yeah.
buy. So NIP, it's not going to be threadbare.
Moses, the American sports commentator.
Navi, that was obviously very expensive.
he
for
does
him.
have
It's like
his
they'll be able to get back
style
into it as
when he
well.
does ramp
That
up is
bank
very
on Zeus,
classic.
Nearly $8,000.
You know,
Yeah.
you can hear him switch into radio voice or into caster voice, I think. And that's just Moses' style. And I was listening to him a lot at Flashpoint too, and it's the same thing. Like he really does have that voice where he kind of clicks into commentary mode. But I guess all of us do. But like Moses is really you telling, you know.
Yeah, it's like a boomy like football caster almost. I would say.
Threadbare. They are going to have some
This is cool.
options.
Okay.
Navi, that was obviously very expensive for him, but it's looking like they'll be able to get back into it as well. That bank on Zeus,
Hearing the
nearly
chant in the
$8,000,
background too.
definitely gonna
Damn, I miss casting in front of the
Spy the
crowd.
kid, Zeus.
Yeah,
Spy the
right?
kid. Please.
We're all just stuck.
$25,
Aren't we?
man.
I just want to touch people, man.
If you do that, it always comes back to haunt you, doesn't it?
Back for 2 maps. And he's
Earlier we watched when you had the fire go up behind you, and you turned around, and you were like, "Oh, that's toasty." Do you remember that at Copenhagen?
This the dragon's breath doesn't fuck around.
Yeah, man. We were saying that like when we had it done to us, like the first bomb explosion when we were on stage wasn't until like 10 rounds into the game or something.
And I was completely I had a skin fade, so I had no hair on the back of my head, and it was, it's actually really hot. I was like, Holy fuck!
Oops.
Nothing new is supposed to happen in this cast right now.
Um,
Okay, wait. Sorry. What is that? Sorry. Set this up again. What is the
right. Yeah.
we're
So,
talking over the.
yeah.
I
So
forget because if we're watching a game, we can talk over the game and still see it, but we're talking over a cast, so we can't talk and hear the cast at the same time.
Right. This is actually Semmler getting tilted at Zeus starts off this round.
Oh, okay.
And then Moses kind of jabs it out. And we get an iconic Semmler laugh. And then it's just like it's one of those feels good because it's like, oh, the trio's back. Like we didn't have this for so long. So I think that like we're 14-10 at the close of the game, and it's just like it's the appreciation of having this trio back. But here it is.
Just buy the kit, Zeus. Just buy the kit. Please. You got 2,500, man. Just buy the kit.
Yo, true.
It always comes back
There's
to
not a reason in the world that you wouldn't want a kit right now.
Zeus just did shit. I'm like, I don't. Why are you doing it?
We'll see if it's going to be a factor here. The fact that he didn't trying for the fight. That's Forrest opening up on Flamey. In spite of the grenades, just didn't even care. They're going to get a lot more in return, and he's down to half health.
Again, how many times now has Forrest just eaten that green apple?
But he saw two players there after killing one.
Oh, look how fast this is. Simple. He needs to do so much more.
Yeah.
Dropped in towards the pit. He's going to get him. They're going to turn the corner. He tacks one. Electronic from up top. He's got three.
Dude, he went like
Heroic
Nos.
hold
That was
for
sick.
Electronic.
That was
and that
good.
might shut down NIP.
That was actually some of the better.
This is why the Tricast can't work anymore, though.
Why is that?
Because, well, the thing is, like Anders, Moses, and myself, we decided to do away with the role of like the play-by-play and the color roles, and just go and make it so that each commentator should be able to flow and do whatever is required at the moment. And so you can't do that anymore with like a Tricast because we can all do it all now. It's like we gotta analyze, we analyze, we gotta cast, we cast, we gotta, and that's I guess how I think commentary should be. Like that's my ideal in terms of commentary. But when we first started the Tricast, Anders, Vendetta, and myself, it was very much like Anders and I were play-by-play, and then Vendetta was there to fill in with the color. But it was, let's say it was a split between like 40% Anders, 40% me, and 20% Vendetta. But that's hard to do. It's like as you progress further, you need a lot of trust. Yeah, you need a lot of trust. I think the Tricast lives and dies by trust in your co-commentators.
So we set this. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. Like you need to know that they're going to give you an opening to say what you need to say, and if the roles are too fixed, then so like Columbus, when we did the Columbus final, we had a lot of trouble with that, and it was actually, I mean, I don't know if it was apparent on the stream, but like Anders was talking a lot, and we actually had to have a conversation about it where I was like, listen, you got to give me a little bit more room here, man, because you're acting like it's just you and Moses casting, and I'm having to struggle to find an opportunity to speak. And after that, it all settles out, and we split it more 40-40-20. But it's still, when you can do all of the different roles in the cast, you kind of run out of room in the cast. CS isn't like LoL or Dota, and that's the issue. Like Tricast doesn't really work for CS, I think, anymore because you just don't have enough room.
It's a bit claustrophobic. I would say so. Two things on that. In the beginning of this episode, we did one of the opening rounds of the first map, where I think things were a bit more strict. So I don't know if you guys talked about this, but Moses only did the analysis in the very dry moments, and he didn't do any of the play-by-play. And then you were doing a lot of the mid-round, and Anders was doing a lot of the closing of the rounds. So like there was one round where he handed off like 5 times perfectly, and I think it was maybe a bit more rigid because I'm assuming you had some kind of small conversation before the game started. But I don't know if you did. Okay.
None of this is organized. It's all off of instinct and
then I
just
guess
casting together.
When everyone got comfortable, then Moses started doing more play-by-play just because he was outside of the Tricast to be doing play-by-play. And then that's, I guess, where it gets a bit tricky, where everybody is so apt at doing all these things that people start jumping in where now there's not a lot of room for the other guy who is going to try to do the same role.
Mm-hmm. But that's why you need to be. You need to be fluid. So then, and it's just practice, right? Like obviously, this cast isn't an excellent example of a Tricast because we're all rusty on that, and so you can see that rigidity is us trying to figure out the flow again. So it's just like Anders starts this and I do this, and it's very very rudimentary because we're trying to figure out. Shit, we haven't casted together for 2 years or something, so we're trying to figure it all out again, right? Like in terms of how the cast is going to work, and then as it progresses, then Moses starts to be able to make plays and you start to get a little bit more comfort zone. But again, it's still I think that's the main thing, and that's always been the issue with the Tricast is that it is claustrophobic in a round. You got a minute 40 or whatever, you know, to get 3 people talking about something. It's just not enough room to because if you have a point that you want to make, maybe you need to dip a little bit more, and that's where the trust kicks in, because you need to know that, I guess, you know, if all things are to be equal, that you'll get that time back somewhere down the line. But that's hard to do when there's like clutch situations or whatever. So I think Tricasts are really hard to deal with because there's a lot of ego involved as well.
Did you have more room in Overwatch in a round to cast?
No.
Is it even
Overwatch,
worse?
if anything, is even more claustrophobic because you really are there's just nonstop action. You don't even have the benefit of rounds in Overwatch. It's just minutes long fights that just never end, and you're like, oh, okay. Eventually, you just eventually you just kind of get frazzled because the action just doesn't stop sometimes.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to the first map and play this Toasty moment again because I actually showed you.
I feel like that's not gonna be enough, is it?
Hold on, let me get my hands. Control double spread.
Try to keep this pause while I search.
It's just gone down on the other one, and this is looking.
I actually want to hear what you guys think about the cast as well, though. Like, what are your takeaways? Because it sounded like you guys do read quite a bit into the situation, and that's interesting.
Yeah, we're very analytical. Like, even if with our own casts.
I mean, shit, I haven't done that in a while, but Anderson and I used to talk for like 3 hours after every cast, trying to fine-tune stuff when we first started out together.
Honestly, this show has had me watching more casting VODs than I've ever watched, so it's like a double benefit.
Yeah, welcome back. Yeah, welcome back.
Oh wait, shit, you just said it.
Nip for the fact that, you know, even with the ecos, whoa, that's toasty. All right, we do have the flames.
I love that's something we talk about. Is I love how you will just react to whatever is in front of you at that moment.
Yep.
Which is something I try to do. Like, I feel like it just brings life into the moment. Like, you had that. So Semmler, obviously, for those of you who don't know, CSGO account tweeted out and tried to figure out what is the most infamous clip or shared clip or popular clip or best clip of all time. And the happy Deagle Ace on Inferno won, and then we talked about that, right?
Which is crazy.
Last week. Yeah,
but like a huge part of that is the cast, because Semmler, I would say in that cast, you know, there was parts where you get caught off guard because no one knows Happy's going to get the 3rd kill, the 4th kill, and then the 5th kill. But part of that and how you react to that is what makes the clip exciting for everyone, because it mirrors the excitement of the people at home who are watching, who are getting caught off guard at the exact same moments. And I think that level, that because some other casts can be so sterilized, it's always refreshing. And I thought you always brought balance to Anders, who I don't think if anybody would kind of poke at Anders that you'd ever get that kind of chemistry where you're willing to say anything on the spot, and then Anders is actually ready to riff and talk about the kind of weird humor that you guys both have sometimes. Or obscure, not weird, like not strange, but like sometimes obscure. And that actually leads me into our next clip. Okay.
Okay.
I'm gonna call this one the Kunai Edge.
Kunai Edge. All right. A couple of weebs over here.
Don't clump me into him, man.
I don't think you should be calling us weebs for this one, Semmler.
Now I want to see what happens next. I did spend quite a bit of time around weebs at Overwatch, though. So to be fair, it might have rubbed off on me.
Right? Yeah. That's true. This first cast back.
He doesn't really know if Lekro has a Molotov or a smoke or anything. Like, if he has one of those and throws it into the apartments, then it's game over, right? So he might have been feeling a little bit of pressure there.
Yada Borg analysis.
This game is getting very tense right now, and I mean, the tension is even more because of the money that NIP has. A mistake now probably cost them the map.
Yeah, this old blast overlay.
They gotta keep this up.
Yeah.
On that knife's edge. It's the ninjas, though. Should I be saying like a shuriken's edge, I guess? Yeah, that would be it. Or kunai.
How do you have some sort of deep?
I sound like such a boomer. Kunai.
Kunai. Kunai.
I don't know your boy, but. Oh man. See, this is the thing. Moses, you know, takes it and runs with it, and that's what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, so like right there, he actually had he used your last words to transition into the play-by-play clip.
Yep.
Well, Dennis's area is top mid. He's going to push up.
Yep,
Misses the
that's
initial
exactly
shot.
how
He's
you do
so
it.
low. He can only stand and fight. He cannot retreat. And
He's very grounded in
unfortunately,
that
he's
sense.
Smokes around. Forrest was blocked
Moses
off.
is a
He still
rock.
goes for
You
the
know what I
fight,
mean?
but
It's like
taken
he's just
down.
super consistent
And
with
this
his
might be the
commentary.
back-breaking
It's a
moment for
shiny,
NIP.
shiny
I don't
rock.
think they can get back into this round.
Oh
It'll
yeah,
take a huge
the
effort,
smooth,
but they are spread thin across
doubly
the map.
rock.
Oh, and it's a very lonely situation
Very
right
short
now for
rock.
Electro over on B. Guys, anybody? A little bit of help
All right,
over here. Electronics at that angle,
that's the
held
clip.
and
The
simple.
kunai edge. That's I was talking about. So we had another clip with Anders where you guys were talking about Denmark versus Sweden, and then Moses pretends to understand and laughs in the background. And it was like bury the hatchet or something, and it talked about how that was that kind of humor is not something you get from other people. So Anders, you wouldn't know that he'd be able to riff about this kind of stuff, but since you always go for it, and then he shows that he can. I think that was the charm of you two. And then this was another moment that was like that, where you're going referential about stuff that you just words you wouldn't normally hear, which is always nice. Because I think the hardest part, for what I would say, the hardest part, one of the hardest parts, at least, about being a caster, it's trying not to be repetitive and not go back to
Sure.
words that we
So
always
you know
use,
that you're
phrases
mailing
we
it in.
always use, because that's what burns your ears. This is like, why am I listening to you say that? I could have said that. I want to hear something that I wouldn't be able to say this well or this different or had this unique perspective.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the most important thing above all else is just chemistry. Is that I mean so Hex and I, like, basically my two casting partners with whom I've worked with the longest, Anders and Hex. In both cases, we started off around beers, you know what I mean? In the sense that Anders and I talked about everything and like all things and everything on TeamSpeak for like 3 hours. The first night we casted together to try it out, and then we just shot the shit about everything. And I'm like, okay, good. And then the lesson essentially is to take away from it is that if you need to be able to hang out with your partner, your co-commentator, and be comfortable having beers with them, And if you can do that, you're set. Everything else can fall into place after that, just so long as you guys get along. If you don't get along, it's going to be, I think it kind of shows through a little bit in the cast, where it'll be a little bit too rigid. You maybe hesitate at laughing at each other's jokes, or you don't laugh at each other's jokes, and stuff like that. And that's going to throw a wrench in things. Whereas if you just naturally, like Anders just naturally cracks me up, or Moses just naturally cracks me up, or Hex just naturally cracks me up, right? And so I don't have to force laughing. I'm just like, like I'm going to laugh anyway because we have the same kind of humor. And then already, boom, there's your baseline. And then all the rest of it, you kind of just build on that. But if you got the chemistry right off the bat, I think the sky's the limit in terms of commentary. I think it's the starting point.
I think that you're absolutely right, because everything else is just more, I feel like, smoothing out technicalities. When you start discussing the technical aspects of casting, and trying to take your product from like, a B+ to an A+, it's like those things, it's just going to take time, practice, and I would say like trust in each other to actually try and implement the small little tweaks that you can take the time to talk about afterwards. But I feel like we had that moment, Mohan, when at North Arena Montreal, we were in the Bell box at the Bell Center watching the Habs game, eating pizzas, just chilling. First day we ever met each other, and it clicked from that moment. So I feel like I get you. I get you when you say that, like, when you understand that the chemistry is there, that you can work with somebody, that like just knowing you can be friends is evidence that you can put together a good package, because you're at least already on like the same level.
Yeah,
That's the thing.
Same way.
We didn't try to manufacture it, but like that was the first thing I brought up with Connor, was that like if you disagree with someone on a cast, it's gonna sound terrible for everybody else. Like no matter what, even if you aren't best of friends at the moment, like you can't let that happen in the broadcast during everybody else's time. And so the best way to approach that is not to pretend to be friends, but to actually be friends if possible, so that you can find a common ground or have fun. And if you have fun, then that's really all that matters. Like the personality comes first, and then all of like you're saying, taking it from a B+ to an A+, smoothing out all of those other crinkles. But ultimately, it's what commentary is, right? It's just like a couple of guys that you'd love to watch a game with, that are enjoying the moment with you, and not like saying annoying things, I guess.
That's what's like I think what I really try to take away from commentary at the beginning was I read this book on broadcasting at the beginning, and I was comparing esports commentary to different sports styles of commentary, and I felt like if you just looked at it and compared it, CS commentary to other types, I was like, okay, NBA maybe, because there can be a lot of action, a lot of back and forth, high pace. It's moving on in there. But then when I really thought about it, I was like, no, I think what I want commentary to be more like is baseball commentary, for that very reason that you just said right there, which is that baseball commentary, I mean, those matches can be long, and sometimes it's slow. And what are you really doing is you're just hanging out with your buds on the couch with some beer and you're watching the game. And I thought that's what I thought I wanted the commentary to be like, is that end of the day, you don't want everybody tuning in to feel like they're just tuning in with you, and you guys are all enjoying yourselves just watching a good game of Counter-Strike. And that's what it is. It's at the baseline, and after that you can get some fancy stuff on top. But like the baseline, the goal always needs to be just that everybody should be entertained when they tune in.
Straight up. Yeah, that's what you're trying. That's your approaches on Flashpoint as well. And just that
Flashpoint, Overwatch League,
unfiltered
same
shelf.
thing.
Yeah,
Like Overwatch League with Hex. I mean, there are a couple of things where it's like Hex is also a bit, like, let's say, professional in that sense. Like Hex has a very professional side of things where he'll talk with commentators and he'll be like, listen, I may not find Semmler's joke funny, but I'm going to laugh anyway because it's my job to laugh at his jokes so that we both look good. And, there are things like that, where it's just like, okay, he says that, but like we both laugh at each other's jokes anyways, right? So it's like whatever. You don't need to force it. But what he's saying is that even if that joke whiffed, you're not going to leave your co-commentator hanging. You're going to laugh anyway, right? Even if it's a whiff, doesn't matter. You guys are a team, and you should be trying to make each other look good at all times.
100%.
That's where, but that's again, where a lot of the trust comes in. You can start to see when things fall apart with casters, or they're going through a rough patch or whatever, when they start leaving each other hanging. And casters listening to cast, you hear it right off the bat. It's like, I don't know, nails down a chalkboard. You know what's going on there, right? Like, oh shit, like something's, they're not really happy with each other today. Maybe they just had a little tiff or something, because when somebody gets left out to hang. So
if you guys listen, you can hear it. You can hear it. If you can hear it, it's happened many times. But
we gotta be careful. This is gonna confirm all those like armchair analysts that are gonna be like, see, these guys all hate each other. Actually, you can hear it because he says this word twice. Yeah,
one thing I've learned is that every rumor is true. Okay, every rumor is true. No, I'm just kidding. There's a couple other, but it does show you. I mean, just that point is like the summit is a great experiment for the CS product, or just a broadcast experience product. Don't necessarily need a giant audience, don't necessarily need certain things. What you do need is guys that are having fun, chilling. And like Gualis, who cast these Brazilian matches, he's scoring like 150K people with him hanging out. And I read this thread about him asking what the appeal was with his streams. And part of it is because, a lot of people are looking for Portuguese language
casting. Yeah, sure.
But he apparently is quite like an actual soccer, like football match, where his commentary is very chill. He does like a national anthem in the beginning and then just kind of talks, doesn't really commentate. And then you wonder, like, 150K? So apparently there's not an actual objective prerequisite to having a lot of viewers from a caster's perspective. What is he doing that everybody else is doing, that the Summit does well, that they're doing well on Flashpoint, that every other caster does well in professional setting? It's like in some of these bigger games with more sponsors, you do have to be more professional, but then it's not the professionalism that keeps people watching. It's the chemistry, right? It's the chemistry ultimately. So
I'd say it's the chemistry. I think we lost a bit of that. And I'm never asking for the days of DDoS to come back by any means. But, you know what I mean? But I think we may have lost a little bit of that, with that opportunity to kind of show the chemistry and show, let's say, show personality. Because when you have to fill for 10, 15 minutes, well, then, you are talking about this, that, or other. We've talked about shroom trips for heaven's sake on some casts. It's like you just start talking about shit. Like we looking at the benches on Inferno, or like going through all the different stuff on Train. Just start fucking around. And I think that we've kind of lost that element a little bit because we were running such a tight ship now with these organized productions that it's not just you sitting at home anymore on your PC fucking around like this guy probably is, right? Because he's not casting from a studio, is he?
No, just a mic. Yeah,
just him.
Yeah. You see, that's the thing. Like he's just gonna have total freedom to fuck around and do his thing, and that's That's the best. You know, it's like you're not worried about a producer and you know, sponsors and all the professional stuff that obviously allows us to get paid and all that, and that's fantastic, right? You know, that's a good thing.
You know, the best
But
quote I heard
we've lost a lot as well.
the best quote I heard about that was from Leffen. He's a melee player. He's kind of like a villain
Yeah,
in
yeah,
melee.
Leffen, I know him.
Yeah, you know Leffen. So he said, "This is so
He lives in
insightful
Stockholm.
about him." Yeah, that's right. It's a half Swedish, half Korean gamer genes. He
Yeah,
said,
buddy.
if you're unprofessional, some will leave. If you're unentertaining, everyone will leave.
Yeah, there
I
you go.
think
That's a fair point.
yeah, incredibly insightful by him, you know, about broadcasting. So yeah, you should. So we actually did reference your enthusiasm with Anders and the discrepancy between then and now in the last making the cast. So I think you should go and listen into that because we compared like you remember that one where you casted Freiburg turning an entry into an ace. I still reference that all the time when I cast
What,
when
the
someone.
Dust 2 cast versus Son of Dragons?
No. When
No,
he's
that
like
wasn't
up banana, up banana.
Oh, but Up Banana on Inferno?
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah, yeah. And then he gets
No, I don't
the
remember. Me, I
there's an
always just
ace.
remember, like, if I think Freiburg, I just think him, Dust 2 diving into CT Spawn, you know?
Yeah.
Freiburg, both kills.
Yeah.
Like, that's
Yeah,
still to me is like the Freiburg play when he was feeling it like a motherfucker.
yeah. So we took those a couple of games from back in the day, and then that was like a Cologne 2014, I think, and then watched your games at Spring Series with Anders and just compared the cast from then and now. And we referenced that things sound a lot better now, kind of sonically with the production and shit. But the enthusiasm from back then, that was on another level, man.
Yeah. It's so tough, man. Let's say that your appreciation for the game changes as well. So
Yeah,
it's almost like your naivete back in when you start, you get really enthusiastic about plays that
Mhm.
as you get older and learn more about CS, it's almost like something that happens where you have to be careful that you don't judge things too harshly. Like I would
Mhm.
get super stoked about a play when I first started out, not knowing that that was a really dumb play to make. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Or for
Which
example,
is
right?
almost
And
good.
But
now
because it looks good. Yeah.
yeah, you know, so you're
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, this is awesome," except that it should have never worked, and it was actually a really, really probably like the worst play you could have made, but he did it anyway, and it worked, and it's like, "Oh, awesome," and you get hype, and everybody's hype and all that. But as you
Yeah.
get more experience, you start to, without realizing it, you start analyzing the game as you cast it, and then if something happens, maybe you're not as excited because hey, you've seen it 10,000 times, and it's like, "Ah, yeah, that's just a that's." It's like that's what I expect from a pro player. You should be able to hit that shot, you know, 9 times out of 10, right? It's not like,
Yeah.
"Oh shit," right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
the
so maybe
ruler,
a bit of
yeah.
the, you know, you get a little, I don't want to say it jaded, but like maybe a
It
little bit of the
is.
polish is there. Or let's say that when you get stoked, right? When you get hype because it is something
Because
that's
now it
caught you by
merits it.
surprise.
Yeah. I'd say
And
like
so
you
maybe
almost,
like the hype becomes more valuable as time goes on because when you really get hype in the end, it's like you're not hiding it. You're actually hype about that play. And it's not just every play is hype. It's like, no. The plays that are hype are hype. Does that make sense?
definitely does. Yeah, it means that like once the truly great plays are then getting the attention they merit, and that you've kind of you've cut off the fat. It's almost like you become a bit like a blasé to mediocre plays that are just exciting to look at, right? I feel like this really resonates with me what you're saying because I find myself in that position still. I feel like I still get very excited over dumb moments. Like I'm particularly Blast Premier London, our first match, Mohan, MIBR versus Liquid. That was that crazy double overtime on Vertigo where like Nafly is stopping bomb plants through boxes. Nafly is just running from B bomb site all the way over to A through a smoke past his teammate in order to spray. And, he sprays down 2 people on bomb site for team kills, the third one, because, it is that chaotic of a moment. And I lose my mind like Naf has done something amazing when in reality it's not Naf has done something amazing. Naf has just created such a wild moment that it catches everybody off guard and the kill feed fills up. But it's not like these are clean headshots. There's team kills in it, for Christ's sake. Like
Right.
it's not something that deserves praise, but maybe excitement. So those are those weird ones that I think that like if you put somebody like yourself who has way more experience now into, I don't think you get as loud as I would in that situation because, as you've said, like you've weaned away from those plays. Those ones don't get your blood pumping the same way anymore because it is a dumb moment. It's just an exciting moment, but it's dumb. So
I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough one. I think there's also like wear and tear on your voice.
sure. Yeah.
You know, that's something as time goes on. I think now I could, but for a period there, I could barely raise my voice anymore, you know, just from shouting so much for so long. And so I had to kind of step back a little bit from just blasting my vocal cords every day because it just felt like I'd wake up the next day and instead of being good to go, I would all of a sudden, you know, be on the edge of losing my voice and I'd have to rein it back. Um, there's that
Just-
kind of brings you back and that maybe it isn't apparent when you're listening. Um, you know, there's all sorts of stuff as time goes on, right? It's interesting.
There's there's something to be said about the like our audience growing at the same time as us too, because a lot of us, on top of having seen everything that you can do as a Counter-Strike player, are sharing that experience with some of our viewers. Because as the the core grows, they clearly are not like that as small, I think, as I think they were made out to be. When we talk about Counter-Strike audiences, there's a lot of people who have been watching for years and years. They
Sure.
also have the expectation that you are a bit more critical and aren't as overly excited about that 3K spray down as you would be in 2015. Because like I was, when I looked at that, I was like, there is genuine enthusiasm in these old clips, but you could never get excited about those plays now. You couldn't. They're just not. They're not good enough. But that was also the state of the game. Like even the pro players were probably like Freiburg chased down this ace, and it was so stringy to the point that his teammate like let him get it, and he had to use like 28 bullets of a spray to get the final kill, and it was ugly at the end. And then Freiburg like waved his crosshair in the air and like jumped around, and it's like it would be embarrassing to get excited about that now, even if you're a player. So times change. Times change. Do we have a question? We have a question here in the chat actually from eTurk. He's been here, by the way. Shout out to eTurk for making the cast
What a
week to
baller.
week. So yeah, he said Semmler. What does Semmler feel when he is desk host at Copenhagen 2017?
That's the podcast event.
That was the podcast event. Yeah, that was my last CS event.
Oh, 2007. Yeah, 2007. We don't talk about 2017
Because there's
eTurk.
2018, 2019, and now we're in 2020, right? So yeah, 2017. Yeah, that's the event where. Well, that was a mix because I can't shit. Did I know I was on my way out by then? I think I did.
That we don't know.
Oh man, it's tough to tell. It's tough to place the timeline if I knew before that event or not.
Would have been November
Yeah, it would
2007.
have been November, right?
Yeah.
And so no, I think I would have known by then. I think I knew that was my last event. Yeah, yeah. So there was definitely. I mean, it was a bit bittersweet, obviously, and I'm not casting because it's Anders and Moses, and so I'm desk hosting, which isn't obviously what I would want to be doing in that situation. Also, all the technical difficulties that first night was just terrifically difficult to pull off because it turned into a 3-hour podcast because we kept trying to throw it live as soon as we could, and we just couldn't throw it
live
live.
support.
Oh man.
Yeah, thrown to the wolves. Yeah.
But there was that. Yeah, no, it was definitely
What about 2000?
a weird event.
What about 2020? I mean, you're desk hosting at Blast.
Oh, it feels like coming home.
Yeah,
Feels like coming home.
Yeah.
Feels like
I think it's
here. Hold
one
on, I
thing
can
I
turn
would
my
say.
camera on. Why don't I just realized. Do I do that? Is that going to
Hey,
show
we
up?
gave you the slot. Oh, boom.
Oh, hey man.
Boom. There we are.
Yeah, dude.
Behind me. I need to make sure that.
Sure. SM7.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Be careful here.
Okay, we're good.
On the shelf.
We're
Okay,
good.
cool.
Yeah.
Dude, the one thing that's good about you on the desk is like the suits, because like casters are on broadcast for like 2-3 seconds a show.
Yeah.
I still go all out for those 2-3 seconds, but like at least on a desk, you can you're looking at someone for like minutes at a time. So that's got to be nice. You can dress up and know that like people are actually going to see what you're wearing.
I miss that, dude. And I invested a good bit of money this year in updating the wardrobe, right? Suits that fit, shirts that fit. Just because I think we need to kind of bring that back in CS, and I know that you're pushing that too. You guys are looking good every time, so I appreciate that. The others are just slacking; they're lazy bastards. I don't get it. Anders and Moses, like, come on, they look like dads on that stream now. And I mean, fair enough, Anders is a dad now, but like, come on, man.
Yeah, true, dude. Once I saw Anders, this is the most Anders. This is the most Anders moment ever, okay? He's wearing a dress shirt. And I was like, damn, Anders, you're wearing a dress shirt. That's wicked. And then he had like ironed the dress shirt like newly as he's sitting down on the chair. And then he gets up and obviously didn't tuck in his dress shirt. And then he walks past me and the entire back of his shirt is unironed. The whole back of his shirt is completely wrinkled. And I was like, Anders, you forgot to iron the back. He's like, who's going to see this? I'm like, come on, man.
That dude, he had the same blazer for freaking ever, like 2 years. The one that he pinned all that shit to, like remember at Major Anders?
Yeah.
And so he took all those pins out and there's still pinholes in it, but yeah, you couldn't tell on the stream, so he was fine. And it was just I get it that we're like gamers and all that, but
it was like the Boy Scout from Up. But I'm only gonna make that joke because he's skinny now, so it's all good.
Dude, that's the thing. That clip there that we were looking at, the toasty one,
yeah,
it's wild.
That's only last year, or that's only like 2 years ago. That's not even like even before.
That was 2 years ago.
That was 2018, the one we just saw.
It's unreal seeing how much weight he's lost.
Yeah, it's crazy, man.
It's so sick. And he's a beast, dude. Dude, he runs fast too. I went jogging with him a bit in LA. Dude, I had to work to keep up. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, he's got a tempo. He's like keeping a tempo like. He's keeping like what is like a 9-minute mile pace or something for 30 minutes. Like at his size.
He's crushing.
Yeah. Yeah, he is killing it.
Well, did we have like I don't want to hijack this this broadcast either, you know, if you guys
kind of did. I mean, you kind of
just rolled
he's got the camera on now. Yeah. You're bigger than both of us on cams.
Your Twitter ad's on the screen.
So guys, you're gonna tell me now. What about the cast? You know, I got Launders and Scrawny joining me here on the Blast. What is it?
Thank you so
Blast
much for having
TV
us. Little guys, appreciate
it. Well, that's like so. Tell me, are you guys working right now in terms of, let's say, after a cast right now? Do you guys go through a process of fine tuning still, or do you feel like you've reached a good spot in your cast where now? Any changes are just going to happen incrementally and naturally, and you don't necessarily need to hammer at it anymore.
No, I mean, I feel like I don't know, speak for you, but I feel like our cast changed so drastically every event almost, where I'm personally, changing stuff and then making sure that it doesn't affect how we talk to each other in our next game. But like every time an event finishes, like I feel like I've changed so much, or just tried so many new things. And then sometimes we'll sit there, like we were at that bar in Moscow, or at Blast Moscow, where oh my god, there's some crazy shit that happened in that bar. There was like definitely like prostitution. Yeah, in the hotel bar, and we were there, like we had our phone out and we were just listening to our casts together. And once we were there till like 2 a.m. watching back our VODs from the last day, and we were just like watching like prostitution happen right in front of us.
Dude, it's no joke, Moscow.
Yeah.
It's no freaking joke.
Yeah,
that was the first epicenter, and we went to the karaoke bar that was on the rooftop, and yeah, it was just escort chicks everywhere.
Yeah.
And you're just kind of freaking out the whole time because you're like, what's going on here? They're all dressed up like dolls.
Yeah.
And this is supposed to be a karaoke bar. And there are people doing karaoke, but then you've got like the big fat old businessman who just walks up to one of these chicks and like nods at her, and she nods at him, and she walks off with them. And I'm like,
yes.
Okay, then I guess that's what's going on now.
Yeah.
It's very interesting times.
And you just think because it's Moscow, like all the girls are beautiful and whatever. But then you're like, but it's like the same ones every night, and like what's going on? Yeah, it's just kind of crazy. And we're in like a 5-star hotel, like really nice hotel. Shout out to the Blast.
So the fine tuning is still an ongoing thing.
I think we have the advantage, I would call it, of actually having more time off between events than some of the more regular Counter-Strike commentators.
Yeah.
So I agree with you, Mohan, when you say that like every time we walk into an event, I feel like things are changing, and some of that is still like intentional. Some of it is just a product of time going by, I think. So like in London in particular, I remember there was one day where we felt things were off. And like the next day we made sure, like we went up for haircuts, and we didn't really say anything to each other, but then we're just like, hey man, is yesterday weird? And then we addressed it right then and there, and we're like, okay, good, we both feel this way. We talked about it, we tweaked it, and then we walked in on broadcast a few hours later, and I think that was actually one of the best days
Yes.
of the event where we just smashed it out
And
because
that's always a
we'd
scary moment.
regrounded.
That's always a scary moment because I remember what it was. We talked about getting overly excited about a certain plays that were happening where we felt like we got taken off guard, and then there were certain hype moments that weren't adequately kind of approached, on Connor's part. And there's stuff we had to talk about that he had to talk about to me, and I had to talk about to him. And that's when it can kind of get very personal, and you feel like you're
Sure.
dancing on eggshells, but you have to be able to criticize each other openly and know that it's not personal. But it was such a difficult conversation to have. And when you analyze something too much, there is the worry that you taint the actual experience because you can no longer come into it intuitively or like thinking about everything you say, and then suddenly you're not having fun. So that was a bit worrying when we had to do that. And then after we did that, I think kind of get lucky, I guess, but everything kind of went smoothly, and we had a good event after that. I'm sure you have had some experiences like that though, right?
Certainly.
Yeah.
And that is actually the really tricky thing to do, is not letting ego get in the way. You got to squelch the ego every time you have one of those conversations, and it can be hard because
Yeah.
sometimes you just don't have the conversations. You're like, oh, it'll just sort itself out naturally, right? Instead of actually stepping in and sorting it the way that it should be, which
Mhm.
sometimes should just be a difficult conversation that you have and done. But that's exactly how you have to handle that sort of thing. Is you got to be willing. Again, like so much of commentary revolves around the team play between you and your co-caster and the trust. You have to be able to trust in each other to know that when I do say something, it's not personal. It is
Mhm.
just me objectively. But at the same time, like there's a slippery slope there where you got to be careful not to start, let's say, making too many changes to the cast and overthinking things. You still
Mhm.
want the cast to happen naturally, and if that one thing just happens to be happening right now, I guess it depends on what it is. But like, say a particular word or whatever, you sometimes you just got to trust your co-commentator to know that he's going to sort that out.
Yeah.
He's going to realize that it's going on, and he's going to sort it out himself, and you don't need to poke him about it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
it is a very personal thing, like the way we talk is the way we always talk. So it kind of feels like it's hard to feel it on some deep level when someone criticizes the way you talk almost. But yeah, like as long as both parties understand as professionals that we, as you mentioned, are here to make sure both of us look good, then with that intention in mind that we would never say anything to each other that would specifically just try to take the other person down, because then the product as a whole, if we agree on that, would become worse. And I think
mhm.
that's obviously, yeah, you're gonna be fortunate to have someone that you can do that with.
I think
Semmler, where are
that's
you at right now? Oh, sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
at home,
Yeah.
chilling back in Europe.
Stockholm.
Yeah.
Yeah, back in Europe, in Stockholm.
I was gonna say, just to add on to that, it also helps, I would argue, where like if I focus on my own improvements, and I understand that Mohan's focused on his own improvements too. It's like I don't feel that if there's something like you're talking about, if there's something I notice that like I have to trust him to smooth out, um, well, that is kind of his own problem. I feel like that's one thing that helps when you have to, when you want to improve just the product between two people, is that if I focus on the things that I know I need to fix and he does the same, we're still both working towards improving the same product.
Mhm.
And it's far more often that I'll bring up my concerns with my own casting to him for thoughts, to see if he's noticed the same thing, or to see, because sometimes you get in your own head,
Yeah.
you'll start focusing on something that you think is a weakness, or that you should try to move away from. And then when I bring that idea up, Mohan actually gives me a different perspective where it's like, oh, wait, I like that, and then it
Mhm.
regrounds yourself. So
That's
um,
true.
it's helpful when both people are focused on fixing their own weaknesses, and then you come together when there's something that, if it's a chemistry aspect, or if it's like a focus problem or something like that, then you need both people to recognize it. But a lot of the improvements to a duo, I think, can be done independently. Um, and that's what makes coming back from breaks like the one we're on right now really exciting. Like we had Blast Premier. I thought our casting was better at Premier than ever.
Yeah.
And then so now it's like, well, what's the next stint hold? Like what's it going to sound like? Is it going to be the same plus new stuff? Is it just going to be this 6-month period where our casting is consistent at that same level, or do we backpedal? It's only time will tell.
Yeah, especially because it's going to be a different, format going forward with all these online events, and so you're
Yeah.
gonna have.
We're just
I
like
mean,
players. You got to adapt to land
Right.
online.
yeah, we gotta adapt to the LAN and the online, except that they're gonna try like it's going to still be a production but online, and so we're not really going back to online, if that makes sense. It's still gonna have that LAN element of production, but we're gonna be online, and so it'll be another new thing actually that we're gonna be dealing with here. So that'll be interesting. I mean,
Yeah.
how all that turns out. That'll be a new challenge for the commentary.
Yeah, I actually don't know what that like exactly looks like for some of the situations that haven't happened yet. Like, there's no people that don't have studios right now. Like, are there going to be a mix? I know, like with LCS, they basically did everything in LCS, but then on like from home with all of the same, like with the desk and everything like that. And so I don't know what that's going to be like. 10 people in a Discord call, some muted sometimes, a different channel, like how that's going to be. But yeah, it's a new challenge. It's gonna be interesting. But so it's a weird time, definitely just a weird fucking time. Super weird time.
It
It's a
is
strange time.
definitely gonna be
Yeah.
very interesting. I have no idea what to expect.
Yeah. So otherwise you were able to fly home?
Yep, made
Oh,
it
that's sweet.
home a few days ago.
And home
Got
is sweet,
rerouted
right?
through Amsterdam and Amsterdam, Stockholm, and because Stockholm is, I mean, well, it's like not shut down, but they did close the borders. So it's like you're only able to travel if you're a resident, essentially, right? Like
Mm,
tourism travel is a no go.
right.
Um, but yeah, made it home. LAX was freakishly empty. Schiphol, every airport
Oh
is just
wow.
crazy,
Yeah,
ghost
yeah.
town. There's
No one wants a
nothing
piece of
there.
it. Let's keep it like that.
Wild.
Even when things settle down. You know what I mean? I know, just like
It
yeah,
was fairly fairly painless
yeah, for
travel,
sure.
You
Yeah.
just had to wear the mask, but even then, it's like you had to wear the mask in LA, but then not everybody was doing it. And then
Mm.
Amsterdam, nobody was wearing a mask. Sweden, nobody was wearing a mask. So,
Maybe they're not
so
fear mongering enough on the news over there.
yeah, no, they aren't.
Do a
They
better
aren't.
job.
I
Yeah.
guess the reality is they aren't,
Yeah. Yeah.
I read a few of the Swedish newspapers regularly, and it's night and day compared to what we're getting in the States,
Really?
right? It's
Oh,
crazy.
that's so interesting. Um,
Yeah.
well, we should if HBO signs us on for another season, we should have you on as a more permanent guest somewhere. I think this was really interesting. Super cool insight. And yeah, I recommend if you have the time. I mean, we're talking about you, so it might be fun for you to watch some of the other episodes that we've done. But I think that's going to be it. Connor, do you have anything else that you want to say to sign off before we end the official first season of Making the Cast?
Yeah, I do actually. It's a bit of a plug. Tuesday, 3 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. CEST. It's the final episode of Countercrafting. So one more session of Counter-Strike crossbred with Minecraft. It's a freakish love child, and you guys aren't going to want to miss it.
Semmler's
So-
like, what the fuck are you guys?
I wasn't gonna say anything.
Just seen his eyes.
Hold on.
Yeah.
What
Just,
the hell
what
is
is
going on
countercrafting?
here?
Yeah. You've been gone for too long, man. We've steered the ship
We've
in a
devolved.
different direction.
Wonderful world of Minecraft. Okay.
Yep.
It's a real
Yeah.
thing. You can watch him play Minecraft.
It's like it's an interview about games inside a game.
Yeah.
I like that actually. That's a
It's
good
good.
take.
Yeah.
It is
so,
fun.
So I run a Counter-Strike player through a little Minecraft world I made. We do some shenanigans. Most of them have never played the game, so it's really easy to get them excited. A
Yeah.
lot of them die in the process.
That's
And
great.
yeah, it's just fun. So,
Are
I'll
you
see you
drawing
guys there,
out,
but this one's stuff.
rounds or something, like, so you're here at where this X is, and
Right.
at this point he's
No,
spoken
no.
for it. And
Got it completely
Not
all
quite.
mapped out. No.
I'll have to check that out. Cool.
Okay,
Dope.
cool. Yeah. And
Thanks
that's,
again
Thanks for the
for coming in,
impromptu show, guys. I appreciate it. That was fun.
Of
Appreciate you
course, yeah, that
swooping
was
in.
super cool. Yeah, appreciate you coming on, man. And like, hopefully, yeah, we'll be able to get a chance to do more shows like this in the near future. But yeah, that's it from us, everybody. So we're gonna take off. Make sure to stay safe, wash your fucking hands, and take a shower. Peace out.